Right. Right, and you
Came to the back of the grid. He's trying to cause trouble. Take no notice of
sun wasn't shining anymore, but the Prime Minister and Mrs. Norma Major were still smiling and ready to fire up the car he'll be driving in Brazil on the 30th of March.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Prime Minister, described your administration this morning as tired, divided and rudderless. What do you make of that?
Well, I patently think it's a wrong judgment. If it's this, that were true, perhaps someone can explain to me several things. Why do we have the most successful economy in Europe? Why do we have more people getting back in work than anybody else in Europe? Why are exam results improving? Why are more people being treated in the health service? It sounds to me a self-justification rather than a proper criticism.
Are you disappointed, though, Prime Minister, that the Sun mass circulation newspaper that has traditionally backed the Tories is now backing
Well, I
Blair?
would obviously prefer the Sun to have been supporting the Conservative Party. Of course I would have preferred that. But I don't think I'm terribly fazed about newspapers not offering me unqualified support. It's a problem I've lived with for quite some time. And I have to say that I do not believe the editorial decision of a handful of people is going to affect the votes of millions of other people.
Can you just go over? Thank you.
Advantages. And we also want this Cabinet Minister to take responsibility for promoting.
And the choice in the election is clear between an old, tired, discredited Conservative Party and New Labour, a party true to its values but reborn for that new age.
It gives me great pleasure to present you with this pasty.
Liberal councils changing over to Labour as lately. Now, I've got one with me here. However, before we start, I've got a wonderful tradition here. Somebody who's from one of the oldest firms with the traditions of Cornwall, Paul, who's produced for you this large Cornish pasty, Tony.
Good morning, Charlie. Welcome to Cornwall.
During his very successful visit this morning to the headquarters of the... Well, Madam
Speaker, would the Prime Minister agree with me that a situation where two-thirds of health authorities and a third of hospital trusts are in deficit to the tune of £300 million is a grave and potentially disastrous situation for many parts of the National Health Service?
Well, I find it odd for the Right Honourable Gentleman to talk about funding in the health service since he has declined to increase funding, whereas we have given commitment to do so. But in any event, the figures he uses, I think, are blown out of all proportion. The forecast deficit is a relatively small fraction of the National Health Service budget. And, of course, in less than 2 weeks' time, funding for the National Health Service will rise by £1.6 billion, a multiple of the deficit to which the Honourable Gentleman refers.
Mr. Blair.
Speaker, is the Prime Minister not aware